Welcome to Taking Stock Political Edition. I'm joined today by Senator Ruston, who's recently been sworn in as a member of the federal executive in the Turnbull government. Senator Ruston has been made Assistant Minister for Agriculture and Water Resources. She's got a background as a producer, growing roses in the Riverland, and previously worked as Chief Executive for the National Wine Centre. Thanks for joining us today, Anne.
Thank you very much.
So we heard Prime Minister Turnbull say that it was an exciting time to be an Australian, and what we're wondering here is, why is it an exciting time to be a South Australian?
Okay, look, there's no doubt that the positive opportunities that exist for Australian agriculture, and obviously South Australia is a huge player in the agricultural space, comes about because of the opportunities overseas. I've often said that you can't, Australia's an exporting nation and we'll never get rich in selling to ourselves. So I think the most important thing for us to do is to get on with making it easier for our primary producers to export. And I think that that's what the Prime Minister's saying, is that the opportunities that exist for Australia are there. They just need to be realised. And from an agricultural perspective, South Australia is really well placed to take huge advantage of the new export markets that are emerging, particularly in Asia.
Okay, and I guess in terms of exporting, producing and growing in this state, that's something that you have a background in. In terms of this move to Assistant Minister, what are your credentials, I suppose, for taking on this role?
Okay, born and bred in the country. Grew up on a mixed fruit property, so horticulture sort of flows in my veins, right next door to a vineyard, so understand viticulture. Spent most of my life involved in one way or another with some level of agriculture. As you mentioned, I was the Chief Executive of the inaugural National Wine Centre, but have since then owned my own property growing roses, so in floriculture. And since I've been in the federal government for the last 3 years, I've made it my business to do things that are based around agriculture, and particularly water reform in the Murray-Darling Basin. So it's been a lovely culmination and recognition, I suppose, of what I've spent most of my life doing.
Okay. On water, so we know that was moved into this portfolio to join agriculture. There was some strong opposition to that coming out of South Australia, with some concern that perhaps the Nationals are more worried about upstream than they are downstream. You've said that it was a positive move. Can you explain why?
Okay. I think it's an extremely positive move that we've moved water into agriculture, because the establishment and the design of the plan protects the environment. So we needed to develop the plan with a very strong focus on the environmental outcome. But now that we've got the framework of the plan and we've got the targets set, and there's nothing, we can't move away from those targets, we don't want to move away from those targets. So we've really set up a framework to protect the environment. We now need to move the focus away from that, and we need to look at what can we do to maximise the productive outcomes that we can get from our water resource. For a state like South Australia, and the whole way through the basin, the opportunities for us, if we apply efficient and effective use of that resource, are massive. So I think the move away from the environment and into agriculture is a really strong statement to Australia that we are now taking seriously the economic value of our water resource.